Now that you're ready for your test to start, there are some important things that will help you during the test itself.
A lot of these concepts may seem obvious to you right now, but by focusing on them during the video, you'll do a much better job. We're only human, and a lot of us have developed bad habits, but by focusing on what good habits are in the eyes of the DMV examiner, you'll do a much better job on your performance test.
The number one reason why people fail the drive test, in my experience, is they simply don't look and move their head enough. It's more than just moving your eyes. You have to turn your head, and to some extent your shoulders too. The examiners can't see your eyeballs, so you have to show the examiner that you are looking for traffic by moving your head. The key is to exaggerate it. Remember, this is a performance evaluation. Some examples of when you do this are just before you go through an intersection. We call this a traffic check. You need to move your head both ways prior to entering in case someone is running the red light. Red lights don't stop cars. Drivers do. Anytime you come across a side road, turn your head in that direction in case someone doesn't see you and tries to turn out in front of you. So constantly check for vehicles, pedestrians, and other bicycle traffic, not to mention any road hazards. Then react safely and calmly to any situation that you may come across.
To say you need to use your mirrors during your driver's exam is something of an understatement. The DMV handbook recommends that you look in your mirrors every 2 to 5 seconds.
Proper use of your rear view and side view mirrors can make a big difference in the results of your test. Examiners are watching to make sure that you look in your rear view mirror each and every time that you're going to apply the brake. This is important as you do not want to be hit from behind.
Going too slow during your driver's exam can be just as detrimental as going too fast. It's also not safe. Don't tailgate, and don't let someone else tailgate you. Staying within the speed limit and with the flow of traffic is important.
The DMV examiner may fail anyone who is driving 10 miles per hour or more under the posted speed limit, unless, of course, traffic conditions or weather warrant a slower speed. Since tailgating is the number one cause of rear-end accidents, consistently check your mirrors to make sure no one is tailgating you. If there is someone there, check your speedometer. If you're driving too slow, adjust your speed accordingly.
If you're driving the proper speed, you may want to change lanes, turn onto a different street, or pull over to the side of the road to let the tailgater pass. This will help prevent accidents.
To make sure you're not tailgating someone else, practice the 3-second rule. Watch the car ahead of you pass a certain point and count or time 3 seconds. If you pass the same spot before reaching 3, you're tailgating and need to slow down by easing off the gas pedal. Also, never drive in the left lane, the passing lane, or sometimes called the fast lane. Move over to the right when you are driving slower than everyone else, even if you are driving the speed limit. This tends to upset people and could cause road rage. Only drive in the left lane in preparation of making a left turn or in the process of passing another vehicle.
Another red flag for examiners is slowing down during lane changes. It is strongly recommended that you do not do this during your driver's test.
It's important that you maintain a safe, consistent, and appropriate speed throughout your exam. Doing otherwise signals a lack of confidence in your driving ability.
Every lane change should be seamless, safe, and appear automatic. You can do this in 4 easy-to-remember steps. First, signal. Second, look in your mirrors. Third, look over your shoulder. And for this, you must exaggerate the movement of your head by turning your upper torso. Let the examiner know you are looking for traffic in the blind spot. And finally, go into the new lane. A perfect lane change can be performed by using the handy acronym SMOG, or SMOG. Anytime you move laterally or side to side, you will need to smog. This includes lane changes, merging, and pulling to and away from a curb. These are 3 different instances in which you will always be looking over your shoulder before you make the move.
It's easy. 4 simple steps. signal your turn. Look in your mirrors, the rear view mirror first, then the side mirror depending on which lane you are moving into. Look over your shoulder, then go into your new lane. And don't forget to turn your signal off once the lane change is complete. The turn signal will always turn off on its own if you make a left or a right turn. However, for a lane change, you will not be turning the steering wheel enough, so you will need to turn this off manually.
While it's perfectly legal to change lanes during a left or right turn under normal driving conditions, it is not okay to do this during your road test. The DMV examiner will expect you to stay in the same lane throughout your turn. To make a right turn from the far right lane, turn into the far right lane. If you're turning from the second to the far right lane, you want to turn into the corresponding lane on the new street, and so forth. The same is true for left-hand turns. If you're making a turn from the far left lane, turn into the far left lane on the new street.
What confuses some people is that it is actually legal to drift over into another lane when making a left turn. However, it is not as safe as turning into your own corresponding lane. Therefore, on your DMV test, it is actually considered an error.
Some streets have a special center left turn lane that you must use for left turns whenever this type of lane is present. However, you may only drive in this special lane for the last 200 feet before your turn. Conversely, if you are exiting a parking lot and turning left onto the street, you may only remain in the special lane for 200 feet before merging into the regular traffic lanes. While you are not likely to be tested on this point, it is perfectly legal to drive across the street where there is a special left turn lane.
If you are asked to drive in a parking lot during your exam, always scan, moving your head left and right for vehicles and pedestrian traffic, and travel at a safe speed. Always remember to stay to the right, even if there's no other traffic or any marked lanes. This is especially important for traffic circles or rings, such as the one in front of the DMV Driver Safety Office in Irvine, California, for example.
With cars coming and going, these rings can be confusing. The trick? Stay right. That way you can follow the circle to the street you want and still exit safely without crossing traffic from behind.
Remember, if you want to be right, stay right.
At some point during the drive test, the DMV examiner will ask you to demonstrate proper backing techniques by backing up in a straight line. When directed to do this, recall the smog technique as you pull over. Remember to be within 18 inches of the curb.
Back your car up while looking straight back over your right shoulder. This is very important because you can keep an eye on the sidewalk for pedestrians and still see any car behind you. It is perfectly okay also to temporarily drop your right hand from the steering wheel during backing maneuvers. No one expects you to turn your head around like an owl, but you do need to look over your right shoulder to look through the back window when performing this maneuver. Do this by turning from your hip up to your head. Take care, however, to maintain pedal control with your right foot. This is something that takes practice. But you may practice this technique looking back from the driver's seat in a car that is parked with the engine off. And no permit is required for that. Back up about 50 feet. Steering is the same as going forward. Turn the wheel to the left to go left, right to go right. Keep looking back until you have come to a complete stop in accord with your examiner's instructions.
After you come to a complete stop, turn around facing forward, scan around, then pull forward into traffic safely using the smog technique. Signal, look in your mirrors, inside rear view first, then your left side mirror. Look over your shoulder, and if it's safe, go into traffic while still looking over your shoulder, then turn forward. When you back up, move approximately 50 feet before stopping. The examiner will probably tell you when to stop. Then proceed to pull out into traffic again by first signaling looking in your mirrors, looking over your shoulder, and then going into the new lane. Remember to always cancel your turn signal once you're in the flow of traffic. The important thing to remember about driving on the freeway is to go with the flow of traffic as much as possible without exceeding the speed limit. When entering freeway traffic, transition smoothly from the on-ramp into the traffic lane as early as possible. When driving on the freeway, you want to enter, merge, and exit without impeding the flow of traffic. Do not straddle two lanes at one time.
You never want to be in two lanes at once. And when you're ready to exit the freeway, remember to make the transition smoothly. And don't forget your new smog procedure. Examiners watch for this closely.
As you approach an intersection, always check for traffic, including from behind and from the sides. If a stop is required, stop behind the line or with adequate space between your vehicle and the one in front of you. If you cannot see the rear tires of the vehicle in front of you, you are too close.
As you approach the intersection, you want to make a full and complete stop, not what some people refer to as a California roll. Be sure not to enter the crosswalk or go over the line. But once you've made a complete stop, it is okay to inch forward with caution to better check for traffic. If it is clear, you will not need to stop a second time before proceeding. When it's safe to go, proceed with the turn or across the intersection, keeping a lookout for oncoming cars in both directions.
Sometimes people can't tell if they're completely stopped. To make sure, press on the brake a little harder after you believe you're at a complete stop.
This is an important tip for taking your test. You want to make sure that you come to a complete stop and are not still moving. To test yourself, come to what you believe is a complete stop. Then push down on the brake extra hard. But if the car lurches to a complete stop, you are not stopping correctly.
While a full stop is usually required just before making a right turn, there are certain instances when you shouldn't, even in the face of red traffic lights. But those situations are unique and very specific. Here's an example. If there is a concrete or painted triangular area that creates the start of a new traffic lane in your direction, you do not need to stop, even if there is a red light.
Pay close attention to this. We are always told to stop before making a right-hand turn at a red light. But in this instance, we should not stop. Of course, if there is a pedestrian about to cross in front of you, always yield to the pedestrian even if there is no crosswalk.
How many times have you followed a car with the brake lights constantly coming on, even if there's no apparent reason? It's typically because the driver keeps his or her left foot on the brake pedal while driving. This is not only confusing for the drivers behind them, it's potentially dangerous, and your examiner will certainly frown upon it if you do it during your test.
Generally speaking, use your right foot for the accelerator and the brake. If necessary, use your left foot for the clutch and/or the parking brake. In California, it is legal to make a right turn at a red light. It does not mean, however, that you have the right-of-way or that you can just coast through the turn at the light.
First, you have a red light, and that means you have to stop before doing anything else. Stop before you get to the line. Check to make sure all is clear, and then inch forward, continuing to check for pedestrians, traffic coming from the left of you, traffic coming from in front of you, and traffic to the right. Once you've verified that all directions are clear, go ahead and make your turn. Then, when your turn is complete, check your mirror again to be doubly sure you haven't turned in front of someone. An important note: if you come to an intersection with a red right turn arrow signal, you may not make a right turn even if the road is clear.
Remain stopped at the red arrow light until it turns green, regardless of how light the traffic may be.
When it comes to left turns, there are two types of green lights you need to recognize. One is the solid green light. The other is the green arrow. When you come to a solid green light, you do not have the right of way when turning left. In other words, approaching traffic also has a green light, and it's up to you to yield to them because through traffic has right of way over turning traffic. Mike says left turns are last. To do this, you may proceed straight ahead, partway into the intersection, and wait for traffic to clear.
Stay straight ahead without turning the wheels. It's very important that you do not enter into the line of oncoming traffic until you see that it is clear to make the turn. They have the right of way.
If you're at an intersection with a green arrow, you do have the right of way and can go ahead and make your left turn because the vehicles traveling forward are stopped at a red light. Caution is always the watchword though, because traffic lights do not actually stop cars. Drivers do.
One way to look at this is when you're approaching a traffic light is to look at the green solid light as an unprotected light and the green arrow as protected.
Understanding the difference between merge and yield signs is important for your test. A merge sign looks like this and tells you to merge into the flow of traffic. A yield sign tells you to do just what it says. Yield to other traffic.
An easy way to remember what these signs mean is by looking at the colors on the signs. A yellow on the merge sign means caution, be careful, look out for the other vehicles while you merge into the flow of traffic. Whereas the yield sign has a little red in it, gives you a connotation that you may have to stop or at least slow down a little prior to entering in. Give the right of way to the other traffic and/or pedestrians.